Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Josh.
And this is NFGeeks. Alright, Josh, today we're going to talk about a topic that you and I used to talk about in philosophy class that you had lots of opinions on. And that's my political, sociological theory of how our government and society should be, which I call the Scholarchy. Okay?
Yes.
Alright. So, to get the Scholarchy, I just got to go briefly into Plato's Republic. Okay, the book and his society. I'm sure lots of people know this, but I just want to get into it quickly. So, Plato's writings, The Republic, has in it what he considers to be the ideal society. And it's based on the tripart soul, that a person should be ruled by wisdom and then courage and then have some temperance. And so the ideal society operates very similarly. Okay, so if you think about it in pyramid form, that's much better. Okay, we have three classes of people. The first class are the Philosopher Kings, meaning that the people who should rule the society should be people who are wise. The wisest people should rule. And the way you know that they're wise is that they don't want to rule. You kind of have to draft them into it. But the wisest people should be on top of the society making all the decisions. The second level are the guardians. And these are sort of the, I guess the police force, or the people who sort of carry out the commands or the wishes of the Philosopher King. And they, they kind of do, I guess policing or just helping or whatever. Yeah. They have a little more power. And then bottom are the regular tradespeople, average people, okay, who are benefiting from this society, okay. So the Philosopher Kings are about wisdom. The guardian's virtue is courage, and the tradespeople is temperance, being, having control over their appetites, their needs, and desires, which is produced by the entire system. Okay, that's really quick Republic. So, Josh, do you have anything to add at this moment?
No, I think we're good with that.
Okay. Would you like to live in the Republic?
Yeah, so an ideal Republic, I think, would be perhaps slightly better than what we have now. Maybe.
Okay. Where would you be, you think?
Where would I personally be?
Yeah, where do you think you'd end up in this?
Honestly, I think I might be a guardian.
Really?
I don't know if I have what it takes to be a Philosopher King, so to speak, but I think I might be a guardian.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's good. I'm a Philosopher King. I'm putting myself on top of it. Yeah. So
I don't think I have the temperance to be on the bottom. Anyway, so I think I would have to be here.
All right, but it assumes that if you're here, you also have temperance. You can control it so that you can be a guardian, and the Philosopher King has temperance and courage, and that's why they can have wisdom.
But I think I have more courage than temperance, so that's why I would have to be a guardian.
But that would then push you down here.
Still?
Yes, because you have to have that bottom virtue. That's okay, you could develop temperance. All right, so here's my Scholarchy that I've talked about a lot with Josh, and the Scholarchy is essentially this. So you might find this shocking, but like Plato, I'm not a big fan of democracy. I think democracy is a failed system, or a flawed system, just as Plato thought, for the reasons he thought it was, that it exists in a demagoguery state where people are voting according to their passions and desires, okay? And also, it creates a larger class of people who basically kind of have a mob mentality towards others, and at the same time are incapable of choosing the proper leaders. What they do is they choose people who are like them, not people who are better than them, who they should be choosing. Because if the people who are like them, they're not actually qualified.
Right.
Yes. So I actually agree with that point with Plato. So to that end, so this is inspired. It's not exactly the Republic, but I have a system that I would like to call the Scholarchy.
The world according to Mike.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. This is sort of my interpretation of this for our society. And what I want to do is take the power away from the economically strong and put it in the hands of the educated. And the way this works is that the higher your level of education, meaning the higher degrees that you have, the more power you actually have in the system. Okay? So it's not equal vote. It's not one vote, one person. The more education you have, the more votes you actually have. Also, the older you are, the more votes that you have. So the older you are, with the more education, those people actually have more power in the system than people who are lower, who have younger and less education. Okay? So this is how it works. Okay? If you have a high school diploma, okay, that is worth 1 vote. So everybody, that's worth 1 vote. And it's cumulative, okay, so you add all these up. If you have a bachelor's degree, that's worth 2 votes. If you have a master's degree, that's worth 3 votes. If you have a doctorate, that's worth 4 votes, okay? So the first thing you do is add it up. So I'm going to use myself, okay? I have a high school degree, so that's 1. I have a bachelor's degree, that's 2. And I have 2 master's degrees, that's 2 3s. So first of all, I get 9. Okay, that adds up to 9. And then what you do is you multiply that by the first digit of your age. I am 42, and so 4 times 9 is 36. So what that means is that when I vote 30, it's like 1 vote is worth 36 votes. And so to be outvoted, it would take 37 18-year-olds with a high school diploma to beat me and get 37. So I automatically win. Also, if you don't have a high school diploma, you don't vote. Okay, nobody with a high school diploma gets the. If you don't have a high school diploma, you're not voting. You're out. Okay, and what this does, this allows
stay in school if you want to vote.
That's right, in this system. So what this does is this puts the power in the oldest and most educated people, which I would argue are the wisest people. So that's my system, Josh. So so go ahead. Let's talk about it.
I think it's good. It puts more power into the intellectual class,
Mm-hmm.
intellectual group of people in the country that's using this.
Okay.
I'm a fan, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Do you have any criticisms of it or thoughts about it?
I think that perhaps if you maybe point to a Buddhist would say that age may not necessarily determine. I mean, I think more age determines more wisdom, but it's not to say that not having age determines less wisdom.
Ah, sure. And that's a good point because that age part actually comes a little bit out of Confucianism. My understanding of Confucianism, that the older you are, the more responsible you would have in the relationships. They have this thing called the 5 relationships, and the older person always has a little more power than the people underneath that, or sometimes a lot more power. And so that idea I put in through Confucianism. Any other thoughts before I say some things?
I kind of want to do mine.
Yeah, sure. Oh, great.
I would have 1 from the high school.
Okay.
I don't have my bachelor's or any other degrees. I'm gonna be 20 in less than a week.
Sure.
So I would have 2 votes.
Yep.
2?
2. Just 2 at the moment.
At the moment.
Okay, but here's the thing. When you get your bachelor's degree, okay, that's now 1 plus 2, that equals 3 times 2. Now you have 6 votes. So you already go up 1. Okay? And even if you don't, if you don't go to a master's degree, when you turns 30, you're already up to 18 votes. Okay? So as you get older, even once you've accrued a certain amount of education, you go up more than once. It's sort of a little exponential. Okay. Now, also, I want to give high school diploma people who just have high school diplomas also more power as they get older because I think they deserve it. So a guy who's like 50 who just has a high school diploma would have 5 votes. Now, that's less than you, but that's more than other people. Now, okay, go ahead. Any other thoughts?
I think it's fair. Makes sense.
Okay. Now, one thing I want to say about this, too, is that the system is not meant to be utopian. It doesn't end classism or racism or sexism or any of the isms. It doesn't necessarily do that. It's not perfect. What I want to argue is that it's superior to democracy as democracy stands. Okay. Now, people are going to say there's always an outlier. Okay. There's always like somebody with a high school diploma who's like a genius, and there's always somebody with a doctorate who's is either evil or has some low IQ or something.
Right.
And what I want to argue is that that's fine because it's really the collective. The individual in the system doesn't matter. It's the collective of the intellectuals that will make more complex decisions and better decisions. Okay, so it's all the intellectuals acting together. It's not necessarily, any one intellectual would have any issues. Okay, I mean they would have issues, but any one intellectual would not necessarily interfere with the system. Okay, it's superior. Any comments from the peanut gallery beyond the camera? Because I can see that there's some facial expressions. No, you don't have anything to say? Yes, you do.
Not right now.
Not right now? You want to do your own episode with us? Okay, great. All right. Now, Josh, is there anything you think you could add, or there's anything that could happen? How can we make this happen? For example, what does it need?
To become legitimate?
Oh, yeah. I want to live in
use?
this society. Absolutely. What do you think I'm doing a video for? To get the idea out there. Yeah.
perhaps maybe you would need some type of super PAC to back this system.
Oh, that's great. All right, but here's the problem. Oh, that's a great idea. See, that's thinking political. But I think people who would fund the super PAC would be upset by this because some of them would actually still have votes because they would have master's degrees and doctorates. But there are some who have a lot of money who don't, and this would take away the power of economics.
Not very Machiavellian.
That's right. Also, educated people, college professors, whatever, do not make enough money to beat the economic people. So they could have a super PAC, but it would actually take all the professors in all the universities to get a super PAC big enough, maybe.
To back this scholarchy.
Yes, the scholarchy. All right. So would you like to live under this, and even under the current conditions? Okay, let's assume you're living under this now with just 2 votes. How would you feel about that?
I think I would be comfortable with it because, like you said, it doesn't put power in the hands of people who are necessarily rich, just trying to get richer. It kind of puts power into the hands of people with ideas and more complex thoughts and are probably thinking for a greater purpose instead of just selfish reasons.
Sure. And I admit that I have a personal bias that creates this system, is that I do think that people are too stupid to vote and vote properly. That the majority of people who are voting are making terrible decisions regarding policy, laws, representatives. This is why I came up with that. How many people really understand, the impact of the Eurozone on the Greek economy? Okay, how many people watching this right now don't even know what the hell I'm talking about? That's okay. I still love you. But still, I don't think you should be voting on international ideas if you don't understand the difference between the Eurozone and the European Union, which is really very simple. Okay, so what else would you like to comment? We've still got a few minutes left, Josh.
What
would your ideal society be like?
Ideal society or ideal voting system?
Oh, both.
I think my ideal society would kind of be similar to Plato's, although I kind of differentiate when he says that, like, the society there would be no families.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not, like, anti-no families. I just don't see how you wouldn't have more of a... Like, if you had a child with someone, I don't see how you would have the same connection with that child as you would with other children not born from you.
Sure.
I don't kind of understand how there would be no family connection.
All right.
But other than that, I kind of don't really differentiate from Plato's Republic.
I think the idea is that the reason why we need to have families is because children cannot trust society.
Right.
So you need the smaller society, but if you could completely trust an ideal society, it wouldn't matter who your parents were because you could receive love and tutoring from every single member.
I understand that standpoint. I just don't see how you would. Like, how would you not see...
Like, have an emotional connection?
Like, how would not my child love me more than it would love you? Its father. You know
sure, that's right. How would it... Well, let's think of it in terms of the mother. Could it possibly bond with every single woman?
The way it bonded with its mother,
that's
right? Same thing.
And if it bonds with his mother, or she bonds with the mother, when it gets passed on to another woman, wouldn't it feel the loss?
Right.
And have some attachment issues, like everyone has. Wouldn't that make a difference? But that's certainly in this system. The Scholarchy does not stop families. Okay, you don't need to have a family.
Pro-family.
Yes. There is actually one other issue I'd like you to talk about because people have brought this up, is that the Scholarchy, people feel the Scholarchy would be too liberal because there seems to be a liberal slant in academia and that this would not favor conservatives, people who are Republican or just have conservative values. Now what I argue is that this would force conservatives to increase their intellectual ability and have more educated people and support education. And, for example, Rick Santorum said something about how colleges are, like, bad and you have to indoctrinate people. I think that's bad for conservatism.
Right.
I think conservatism would be better if there were more educated people operating in it. And the educated conservatives are very convincing. They're far more convincing than, say, other points.
Right.
Do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think that's important, too. I think that being educated is certainly a much more advantageous position to be in. I don't see why anyone would be anti-education. It just doesn't make sense. It makes you less qualified, less intelligent. It's not about being liberal or conservative. It's just about being a better person in general, I think.
Well, hopefully this would promote that. So let's get on it, everybody. Let's start voting for it. Call your congressman.
Scholarchy.
Right. It may need to have a revolution, I admit, like, the communists always talk about, because you have to sort of, throw away one class, throw away one class to another class. The educated class would have to usurp the economic class, and that might lead to violence. Not that I'm condoning that, but I'm just being realistic. Any thoughts about that?
May need some tweaking as well, but the basis is good.
Oh,
I
good.
think.
All right. Great. Thank you, Josh.
No
All right. The Scholarchy. So get on it, everybody.